we're just coming in to come alongside the dock here, and you can get an idea of what the weather conditions are like in this particular case. There's a few other features, but there's one of the larger ferries. And we also initially, we actually supplied a fairly inexpensive river radar to do some of the torque, and then eventually shifted over to basically any radar any of the radars on the marketplace. But initially, as I said, we were doing a lot of experimenting, a lot of prototyping, and a lot of development. There's a video clip showing coming into Port Basque. Get an idea there what it's like. I took that video as I saw through the window on the bridge. Ice, of course, lots of it. There's another little spot where you see the background. You see the shoreline there coming up. And this is the ECTINS display on there. This is a later generation display we use on that one. There's another little video clip coming up, and I wanted to take a shot, but the ship would start off in this berth here, and often difficulty because it has to make a turn fairly accurately and timing-wise, literally within about 5 seconds or so. If it starts that turn too soon and there's another ship sitting there, there's a good chance the stern will collide with the other ship sitting there. So it's a fairly tight timing, and if they don't turn early enough, they may not clear this void here. And this, by the way, Newfoundland is not nice, soft, sandy bottom. It's called a rock. Any slight, before we installed the system, they had, on one of the ships, they had an accident right in there. You know, you're talking millions of dollars and they're barely moving, but even just touching is 8 times damage on the ship. So, at any rate, so I wanted to film this on a very foggy morning. I was coming down the ship, and I think it was 6 o'clock in the morning, and I saw the fog, and I grabbed my camera, and I came over to this point, and I thought I should be able to see it come out of the fog. And there's a void there, as you can see it. And when I actually arrived there, I couldn't really tell where is it coming from. You know, I pointed the camera, and eventually you'll see that it's a very, very dark video. But you see the void there. I don't know if you can see it from back there, the void there. And I was just pointing, and I could hear it actually. I could hear the noise getting louder and louder of the ship, but I couldn't see it. I didn't know it would show up over here or show up over here. And there, I don't know if you can see now, see this dark shadow coming out of the fog. And not very far away on the other side is an island, again, a rocky island. But there you see the ship coming through there in the superstructure. I have to show the slide for this little video because I couldn't believe when I saw this. There you see the superstructure. Anyway, I'll spare you all the comments here, but the senior master on the Joseph and Clara Smallwood, one of the comments he made was rain and snow before the introduction of the early system radar positioning. We were more or less on our own when docking at Port Basque. That's the place where all this happened, or most of this stuff happened. Many a time during the winter months, we would be waiting outside Port Basque for weather conditions to improve. With the introduction of the first electronic system on board these vessels, times began to change, and entrance into Port Basque due to heavy rain and snow became a thing of the past. Any more, we've got lots and lots of testimonials about it. And here's the important part. We knew that we didn't want to set up reflectors everywhere because although they're inexpensive, easy to make, and quick to set up. So we could always guarantee high performance. We could always find places where we could set a reflector, but we wanted to use natural existing targets. We could see a lot of targets that would isolate very well. And so we started looking at things like, things like docks, jetties, like this here, the ends of jetties, points of corners of buildings, ground structures and so on. And we realized we could use those very well. The system in most cases would actually determine what the shape is by just literally going by and taking radar imagery along there in an automated fashion. We didn't have to do it. Initially, we of course had to write software and so on to do that, but in an automated way it would determine what all this, what the shape and what these features were. And eventually we were using dozens of different objects and reflectors. In the end, our objective and what we're doing now is actually to go completely without reflectors, to go with existing structures. And we found we could do that in a number of places pretty close to that. We could get pretty close to getting rid of reflectors altogether. So that's the objective. Right now we're working on setting up a prototype demonstration of the system in Vancouver, the Harvard area, where we actually had it running way before GPS came into being. That was the whole idea at the time. This is just another example here, but as we know, we've heard lots about IMO and the standards. I was involved, I was on the Canadian delegation for about 12 years at IMO for the developments of international standards related to electronic charts at the request of the Canadian Coast Guard. So I spent many years going through a lot of the early international developments. Anyway, we're all familiar with some of the wording already on this. Just to finish, the system is a proven system. It's not something that wishful thinking that we think we might be able to use it for positioning. Use it. These ferries used it for 6 years until GPS actually came into being. And the Canadian Coast Guard in Quebec actually conducted trials and tests with the system back in 1990, I believe. And generally what I'm saying is it's easy to use, easy to set up. Virtually every ship, in fact, most ships have a radar on them, any kind of size radar on them. And as a backup to GPS, it's an easy and quick fix. So anyway, that's, I think I'm running out of my...
No, you're doing fine.
I'm at the end here anyway. I'll just cover these points here. When the system goes out and starts looking in an area where you've never been before, it immediately captures the actual imagery and specific points that it sees. So even if GPS dropped out minutes after you started up, it would use those points to carry on. Probably not for very long, unless GPS comes back and updates the information. It's much like an INS, inertial navigation system, where after a while it deteriorates. But basically, it then builds up the database by itself. So it stores these coordinates, stores the characteristics of those particular targets. And then moves it to keep pushing the wrong button. Then moves it to a permanent database process and use in the future. We can also, what we did in a lot of places, we would go through there with the vessel before actually installing it on the ship that needed the system. We would go and collect the radar data and then transfer it over together with our system onto the ship. It has online status indicators that will tell you how reliable, and for instance in Vancouver area we would have, in some cases we had 3 position sources. We had microwave positioning systems, we had GPS or differential GPS, and we had radar positioning. They were all working concurrently with status indicators, and we would then, I remember that a lot of demonstrations years ago, just literally unplug the GPS receiver, unplug the microwave system to show that there was, and we're doing this as we're coming alongside a dock, so you could tell how far the system would shift or not, and for graphing purposes, there was no change. So this was usually one of the demonstrations we did. System will always work as long as it's within range of shore where it picks up some targets, or shore or lights or fixed lights or something like that. And the accuracy, if the accuracy is required, generally we claim plus or minus 2 to 5 meters. But when we knew that ships were coming into a dock, we covered that better with geometry, so we get much better coverage plus or minus 2 meters. Our new system that we're working on now, or our redoing of the system we had for demonstration, we plan to basically try to get down plus or minus a couple of meters on a continuous basis. That concludes a little longer than it should.
Help me finish with that next step.
Thank you.